Hey Todd, how are you? My name is Pepe Galvan. I'm from Mexico. I actually live in a city called Puebla, which is 2 hours south from Mexico City. Currently, my business is an online business that is dedicated to help people perform better by giving them tools and strategies of how they can do that, either as sports people, as entrepreneurs, as business people, or as even as students. So we're more focused on the actually giving them tools than just pure motivation. So that's currently what I'm doing in my business, what it is doing at this moment.
Perfect. Well, Pepe, I've gotten to get to know you over the last couple of years, and before we kind of dive into your business and kind of where it's at right now and whatnot, I'd love to know, I'd love for you to tell everyone like what your background is because you've got a great history.
Yeah, well, my background, I've been all over the place. As I said, I'm from Mexico. I played professional soccer in Mexico up to the second division, and then I left Mexico and went to the States. I got a scholarship. I was able to kind of fall through the cracks in terms of the professional thing and playing at a college level. And that was a fantastic experience. I was in Georgia, and then I transferred to a college in Indiana called Bethel College, and it was a fantastic experience. And funny enough, I studied computer information systems, which has nothing to do. I mean, I still don't know how to turn on a computer, so.
Well, how you navigated to Skype today is beyond me. So,
Yes, I have an assistant for that.
cool. So you played. I mean, you played professional soccer. You were also involved in the Mexico Olympic team as well, or the national team. And so you get done college, and then what happened to your career path that kind of led you to where you are today?
Yeah. Well, it's funny, as I said, I studied computer information systems, and after that, I went to live in England for a while. And I was doing some IT consulting, and I realized I hated first my job. I was like, this is not for me. And every time I was speaking to clients about football, soccer in this case, and so I decided to do something about that, and I completely changed my path. And I said, that's it. I quit my job. The following day, I flew to Spain, to Madrid, and I started an MBA program with the University of Real Madrid, which mainly helped me in one sense, which was to broaden and to grow my network within the sports industry or the soccer industry at a larger and bigger scale. And it was thanks to that that I was able to grow, develop my network, and then I left Spain to go to New York and started working for Major League Soccer, which was thanks to that. I mean, if there was one thing I could mention was the huge component of the network, which I still use that philosophy.
Yeah. And so you worked with MLS, and you helped MLS recruit players from Mexico specifically. Wasn't that kind of your role?
Yes, yes. Initially, my role was actually to help them develop and build international games in the States. So with Brazil, with Argentina, with Mexico, with clubs like Real Madrid,
Yeah.
Barcelona, Manchester United, all of that. But then I transitioned into more of the marketing and then towards the player recruitment, let's say.
Hmm.
And I helped them mainly in Mexico, but because Mexico is a central country in terms of a pool of players, I was bringing in players from Argentina, Brazil, Spain, and other parts of Europe as well. So that was my main role, helping, kind of being a broker between the league, the agent, and the player, helping them sign and making deals, basically.
Yeah. And then you ended up finishing up your role with MLS and basically launched into kind of the business that you're in now, right?
Yes.
Or an iteration of it, correct?
Exactly. Yes. Yes. I was. It took me a while to fully transition, and the main reason why I was doing this or why I wanted to do this is because I saw that in one country a player could perform properly, and then in another country he couldn't perform properly. I was like, "What's going on?"
Hmm.
Or one day he could play well, and then 2 or 3 weekends he would have terrible games. And then I said, well, I realize that that happens to my neighbor and it happens to me. So what's going on?
Yeah.
There's something more than just purely mechanics that has to do with more of how we process information and how we actually develop accordingly to each situation. And that's where I got into more of the performance part and not purely just motivation, as you know.
Yeah. So you were working inside your business, and you're finding the place where it kind of fits best in the marketplace, right? And then you kind of come across maybe myself and these 90-day concepts. So what was it about the place that you're at in your business that you said, or what you were frustrated with, that you were like, you know what, I need to implement something like this or change this?
Yeah. Well, the first thing is that I had no clue about how to build a business. So that was the first thing. I was like, now, what do I do? It's just me. And there are all sorts of components because it's not actually delivering. It's also building a list of potential clients, reaching out to them, being able to make those potential clients, get them into being actual clients and paying a good fee in order to make it a good business.
Yeah.
So all those things, and obviously one of the biggest things for me was, well, how do I scale this? Because if you're only doing one-on-one work, you can go only up to a certain point in terms of hours that you can work and also money that you can make.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, this is not working for me. It's too draining, and I want to focus on the things that I do best, not on trying to do everything at the same time. So that's where it really helped me to get that understanding and say, it's not only just me, I can really scale my business by putting together a group of people that can help me grow it.
Yeah. I mean, you're a perfect example of someone who's exceptionally competent at what it is that you do. And maybe sometimes because, I mean, I was the same way when I first started out. Like, I mean, I didn't know the entire world of, how do you navigate the business landscape, but you're a perfect example of someone that I love working with, because if you can help magnify someone and get them out there, so they can actually, because you're exceptionally competent, you're exceptionally skilled at what is it you do. And you come from a place of, wanting to really help people, as opposed to, it's just not about the, quote unquote money, so to speak. That, if I can be a small little part of that kind of path for someone, then that's outstanding. So you get into kind of working on these things, and what's happened since for yourself and your business. And one thing I want to note too is the one thing that you did as a great shift is you didn't just go out there and say, hey, I'm going to help people on performance in all over the world and all these different, you focused on the Spanish marketplace, and then you worked on that a little bit and found that there was, a couple things that didn't kind of work sometimes in the Mexico market, and then you expanded from there. But the great thing about you is you were constantly iterating and shifting and being flexible with the kind of way that you were going about, building the business, which is a huge part, because many business owners, they get into the trap of just only, they're like, I'm going to make this work, and they keep on doing the same activities over and over again. And it's the equivalent of, I use the analogy all the time. It's the equivalent of the fly, running up against the window the entire time, thinking that that's going to help him escape to the outside. When if he would just stop for a moment and sit down on the ledge and notice that there's an open window just 2 feet away, he could get to where he wants to go. So
yes.
Tell me about that experience and kind of what has shifted then.
Yes, I would say that the biggest shift was I spent a lot of time reaching out more to the English-speaking market, thinking that was going to be the market that was going to work. But I realized that there were certain difficulties in that market, and it didn't have to do with the things that I knew, but more it was the things of how I was reaching out to them and how to build a brand. And then I said, well, why don't I then focus with the Spanish-speaking market, because it's a market that is still very green, and that I want to, right now I'm in Mexico, for instance, and that has no clue really, I'm sorry if I'm saying it that way, in terms of human performance.
Yeah.
So I said, well, why not take best practices of people that have done it in the English-speaking market, let's say in the States, that have been doing it for 10, 15 years, and do kind of what they were doing 10 or 15 years and start implementing it here. Because the online world here is competent up to a certain point, but there are a lot of things that are not being used, and a lot of people don't even use it. For instance, emails. That's a way that, in the English-speaking market, it's great. Spanish-speaking, it's like sending it to the toilet. I mean, nobody checks it. Only once, and they just flush it. So, so that's how it works. So it's actually finding different ways of how do you reach that market, because it's thirsty.
Yeah.
So it's trying to find different ways. So it's public speaking, doing a couple of webinars, reaching out to kind of affiliates that are not online, but they can be people that act like affiliates, but you're interacting with them differently. So all these little things that I started to see, well, taking the same concept and applying it to the market, to the industry, and to the language.
Yeah, and so now that you've been kind of working in this sort of new philosophy of working in your business with the 90 days and how we try to get people to work differently, what's changed for you in the business itself?
Well, I would say lots of things. Mainly, it's first having an actual plan. That's the first thing. So not just going and saying, well, I'm going to do this, going to this, and not being able to really measure any progress.
Yeah.
That's the first thing.
What does having a plan actually do for you from like a confidence level as well?
Well, obviously it increases the level of confidence and also the level of focus, I would say, because I'm much clearer on what are the things that I have to do or I want to do by analyzing, things of the past, what things worked, what things didn't work, what I need to focus on, things of the present, where I'm at right now, and then where am I headed. Mm-hmm. So all of those, that funnel has helped me a lot to really create that vision and then put together a plan on the things that I can control for the next 90 days. So it's really just basically just putting things into like separate boxes. That would be the way I would.
Yep.
The word I would use.
And from a revenue standpoint, how's the business been? And it's a leading question because I already know the answer to this, but it's exciting for me to hear these results from you.
Yeah, it keeps growing. That's the great thing. Right now, we're close to doubling the income of, let's say, 90 days ago, which has been great. And not only that, I would also add the fact that we're not acting in the past we were like, well, how about if you pay 50% now and then 25% in a week and then 25% at the end,
Yeah.
Kind of like financing. Now, what we realize is that, or what we've done is we've doubled our revenue, but also people are paying full price and before the program starts, or the programs start, because we do several kind of courses and trainings that we're doing on our website. So that has been a massive shift, and it had to do with having a plan and also trusting our plan and trusting in ourselves.
Yeah, that's a big thing that you just hit on too, is like, many times when people who really do come from a place of like service, sometimes they have a real tough time putting a dollar amount on it and actually stepping into that dollar amount and saying, no, it's worth this. And I mean, the great thing that I see in you is that, you're able to stand in that place and go, no, it's worth this. And even just saying it with that much, trust and faith and certainty gives the other person, the trust or the faith that it's going to work for them too. It's when people kind of go, oh, well, whatever you want to pay, or because remember, the customers still want a result on the other side. And a lot of times that result is dependent upon the just level of assurance and certainty they get from the voice of the person on the other side of the screen. So you stepping into that place is awesome to see too, especially from a personal standpoint of, I want to see, Pepe and his business absolutely blow up the Spanish marketplace because you're freaking good at what you do. So that's a huge win. Because now whatever number you put on it, it doesn't matter, because that whatever you say, you believe it, because you're getting all these results from your clients anyway and customers.
Yeah, so. Exactly. In fact, we're turning down people.
Yeah.
Just because we think that they're not the right fit for what we're doing.
Yeah.
And initially, one of the things that, and I mentioned to you prior, is that we're trying the price elasticity, and we said, well, at the first, and this kind of helped me. This is an idea, helped me build some confidence, which is said, pay $1. You actually have to physically pay the $1.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the month, we suggest that this is the price that you should pay.
Yeah.
But you can decide if you pay that price, less, nothing, or even more. And we found out that 50% of the people paid more. So that actually helped us
Yeah.
realize that we were bringing more value than what we thought we were, and actually increased our confidence.
Yeah.
We increased our prices, and each time we're speaking now,
Yeah.
we're way more confident. So
Yeah.
in the end, it had nothing to do with them. It had to do with more with us.
Yeah. Well, and that's a good example of you applied a strategy that is a great strategy to employ at the startup level.
Yes.
You know, and we talked about this in one of the videos. I talk about the five stages of business and the business navigator, and how employing something from the scale up level at the startup level oftentimes doesn't get you the result that you're expecting. So you read a book about how one business did it and they're, a multi-million-dollar business, and then you go and try and employ the same strategy and it doesn't work for you. And yet in the startup phase, that's all about just continuing to get answers and iterating and trying to find out what those numbers from a pricing point of view work for you. At the scale-up level, you've already got credibility and you don't need to play that game very much anymore. You can still do it maybe with a brand new product you bring to the market. But yeah, and I mean, it's great to see you play around with that and sort of looking at your business as a little lab that you're going to make tests on it. And that's a huge mindset shift that very few business owners ever get to, because of fear and all these other kind of, I guess, bull reasons in their own heads.
Yes.
I won't go through the whole phrase, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then the other big thing for you too is just the fact that your team is growing too.
Yes, we've grown. It was actually, in fact, at the beginning of the year, it's kind of like 90 days ago, it was just me and someone else that I was hiring kind of part-time.
Yeah.
And then I realized it was just going nowhere. Either I was fully committing to this, or I was going to do it half-assed and never expect any growth.
Yeah, it's that you get this from, because you're a sports guy too. It's either I'm going to be an amateur at it or I'm going to go pro.
Exactly.
And
yes.
That's a huge mindset shift that happens. And you
Exactly.
went pro. And
yes.
Yeah.
And now it's 6 of us. So I'll go for myself and then 5 people that are helping me. And it's divided into somebody that's really assisting me with the things or people that are assisting me in the things that I'm not fully competent.
Yeah.
Graphic design, lead, at least getting new leads. I don't want to be making those phone calls.
Yeah.
Some of not of the content creation, but more of just information that I'm trying to get that they will send to me, and then I can decide what we'll use.
Yeah, you've got a researcher on staff. Yeah.
Exactly, researcher. So I've divided this, and we're still in the process of actually improving this. An editor, for instance, for videos, audio, everything like that. That has helped a lot. So in the end, I've been able to focus more on the things that I want to do, that I'm competent, that I'm good at, and leaving others to do what they're good at. And in the end, that has helped the business grow. I've actually helped people have a new job, for instance, which has also helped them.
Mm-hmm.
And we're helping more people because of that. And it was all just because of that mind shift. They're saying either I'm doing it really seriously or I'm just going to be playing around with it. That was the huge difference.
Yeah. And didn't you also bring your mom into your business too?
Yes. That's interesting. She's doing actually the English part of things because we are giving English classes.
Yeah.
And she's been teaching English for many years. She's from England, and she's been doing it for many years. And I said, well, I'll help you, because she wanted to start a business. And I said, I'll put together the structure and you'll give the classes. And that has been going very great. In fact, now we're focusing on rapid learning in terms of a language, and we'll start with English. And that's something that is being used in other countries, but in Mexico, not really, or in Latin American countries.
Yeah.
So that's the route that we're going. Instead of spending years learning a language and just going through the whole system and everything, it's what's the things that are actually going to help you and the things that you're going to use. And that's where we're at right now. So that's another thing. And it's been great as well, working if everything is clear, working with family can be great if we are clear from the start.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. And well, I guess just to wrap things up, is there anything else that you wanted to share, or who would you recommend the 90-day year program for? Who do you think it's not for, type of thing?
Yeah. Well, I would. I think it's for everyone, because I see myself doing this not only once.
Yeah.
even if I keep growing, there's always something that you can learn through this system. So it doesn't have to do, in my opinion, it doesn't have to do at which stage you're at, but it's more if you're actually doing it or not, because it's not the information that you know, it's the information that you apply. And that's the huge difference. So I see this and I keep applying it constantly, regularly, because after 90 days, what will happen? Well, another 90 days.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, so, but I see it very helpful as well with people that are either starting a business or they're having problems with growing their business, or even having a clarity of what sort of business they should focus on. So, and even, I mean, athletes, why not? They're very similar to entrepreneurs, you know, very driven.
Yeah.
They just do a couple of things, but then they don't surround themselves usually with the right people. They don't have a plan.
Yeah.
And they don't have the right mindset in many occasions. So I think it's a great plan for anyone really. It's looking to improve and reach their goals based on their actions.
Yeah. And then any last sentiments on, you know, even myself as like the leader of the program, or even like a coach for people?
I don't know what to say. No, fantastic. No, Todd, your work is amazing. I mean, I've known you more than these last 90 days.
Yeah.
But it's just fantastic. The knowledge that you bring in, I would say you make things easy for people to understand. You know, it's not this scientific thing. It's real, tangible things that you can do. But also the part of, I think we need more people like you that can challenge us in order to break our comfort zone and keep growing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I see that you're out of that light. You give us a hug when we need to be hugged, and you push us when we need to be pushed.
Oh, come on now. That ruins my entire reputation online if you tell people that I give out hugs. Come on.
In a good way.
Yeah, no, it's cool.
Yes.
Well, Pep, I can't wait to see what happens in your next 90 days and all those other 90 days beyond that. You're a special guy. So thanks for taking the time to share your story with everybody.
Thank you, Todd. Happy to help.
Cheers, Pep.
Cheers.